I'll introduce it. Yes, I will, Max. Welcome back to the Driving Talk podcast, powered by Icon. And we've got a guest this week, gents. It's myself, Robert Lewis, with Paul Harvey, Max Coates, and sat right next to Max Coates, probably with his hand on his knee, is Mr. Charles Rainford. Oh, no, he hasn't got his hand on his knee. It's fine. He's put his up. But Mr. Charles Rainford, Porsche Carrera Cup driver, Pro-Am champion, has joined the Driving Talk podcast. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. I mean, you're very kind to me there on that intro, so thank you very much for that.
Which part? The hand on his knee or the champion bit?
Both, probably.
You Pro-Am champ last year?
I was.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats.
There we go.
That's news.
Months late, but well.
Good to see Max is up to date with all the research on the guests, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know lots about him. So I've got to say the hairstyle is incredible.
One of a kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's
probably
more
the
of a
most.
style than I've got. When you go to the barbers, what do you ask for?
I literally asked for a 2 on the side and a little bit off the top.
Ironically, that's exactly what I asked for.
Oh my god!
That's actually what I asked for. I mean, to be fair, my hair is still slightly damp from having a shower a little while ago.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm a 2.5 the side, off the sides, a little bit off the top.
Yeah.
Right, so we won't talk about the Porsches or anything like that. Let's talk about hair care. So, Charles, how do you keep it so supple during the race
Quite a
weekend?
nice fade on the side there.
I'm not sure whether that says more about my hair or my barber. So, anyway,
Yes,
we're
shout out
both
Fred in
good.
Upfield.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing my hair.
we are both good. So we were both racing at Donington this weekend. Charles in Carrera Cup, myself in Sprint Challenge GB. We're on a day off. It's not really a day off at Silverstone, Donington this morning, and Silverstone this afternoon, and we're ready for testing tomorrow. So I've actually had a day off. Really, you haven't. So what? Because for people that don't know, Charles needs to introduce who he actually is. But essentially, he races a car and runs a team, and that's quite a hard task. So when he's finished racing yesterday, he's then coaching his driver in another championship, and then has to. Oh, you tell him.
Yeah, so basically, I guess it all starts as my dad owns CCK Historic, and we build and store classic race cars, basically, and that's how I got into racing.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. But with the Porsche Carrera Cup GB, obviously we started in 2021 with just myself, and we got Cam Davis as well for the K1 and Sprint Challenge for this year. But it does mean, obviously, won the Pro-Am Championship last year. I then moved up into the Pro class. So on a race weekend, I have a few different jobs to do. Obviously, one is coaching Callum, driving the car myself. I also help engineer my own car. I also have Oz Osborne, who also engineers it with me. But we work as a team, and then I co-engineer Callum's car as well. So when you pair that with also keeping my sponsors happy, it means race weekends are rather busy.
Do you get time to even eat or sleep?
Sleeping, yeah, that happens at some point during the evening. Eating, I don't eat very much on a race weekend anyway. For some reason, actually, I do feel a lot of nerves actually before races and qualifying.
You
a lot
get
of nerves.
nervous.
Very nervous. Yeah.
Interesting. I was chatting to somebody pre-qualifying, pre-race, I think. It was Joe Warhurst, and he was saying, like, I can feel my heart going already. And we hadn't even got in the car. And so it's amazing, actually, how much, especially over any race weekend, but especially on Toka, I feel like there's a lot of build-up. There's a lot of suspense. And, like beforehand, the heart rate's sort of already quite high, well before you're even in the car or got your suit on. Or I find it's when you put your suit on.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
You might feel it less, but when I was at Pyro and we had like 6 drivers, probably of which 4 were going to be in the front battle of like 8 cars, it was proper tense in the truck. Like when you went to put your suit on, it was like we're going to war. It's not like that, but it was like that feeling of like we're all getting tugged up here to go and just try and beat each other up, basically.
Yeah, sure.
But it's pretty intense.
I think, from my side with that, where I've always been a single car team, my particular race always feels like such an event. I've never had teammates that I'm going to go and battle against.
Yeah.
So because of that, it always feels like that everyone's there just for me.
Yeah.
And that always subconsciously adds pressure. For me, it's as you say, the same thing with the build up, and then you get called to assembly, and the build up is more and more and more, and then all of a sudden you start the engine up and go out on track, and all the nerves are gone.
Yeah.
And you just, from that point, you're having the best time ever.
And no matter how many times you do it, you can't tell yourself 20 minutes before it's all going to be all right in 20 minutes, so stop worrying.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Because saying that to yourself, you think, yeah, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. But you can never, and you can just never make that switch if I don't get nervous. Interestingly enough, though, I wasn't very nervous for qualifying on Saturday.
No, I actually think as you get a little bit older and you've done it more, the nerves start to decrease, and you kind of just sort of accept that actually you're all right at this. As long as if you're doing your best, that's all you can do. So don't worry about it. And you do still get nervous, but I think it's less now than what it probably was for me a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so interesting.
We can go off topic all the time during this.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, so it's nice to hear. I don't know about you, Paul, but it's nice to hear from us two that have effectively done club racing. And we get, well, I don't know about you, I get really nervous. I'm pacing, I'm in the car, hyperventilating, doing all that shit. But it's nice to hear that the pros get nervous as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, my expectation is that if you're going to really perform at your best, you've got to be in that balanced state between having adrenaline and energy and excitement, which gets you going. And obviously, if you're going to be driving a race car, sharpening up your reaction times and everything that comes with the benefits of it, but keeping that in a balanced and controlled state to be able to not be overexcited or overstimulated to the point where you overdrive the car or it becomes debilitating. There's a curve, I guess, for you guys where it plays in your favour, but actually it can play against you.
Absolutely.
Yes. No, exactly.
Max has dived off, probably to either clear up another coffee mistake or just go and get another cup of coffee after the one he spilt earlier.
It was actually closing the door because a Cayman has just started up.
Yeah, it was getting noisy outside, so I just thought I'd shut it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, while we've introduced ourselves, had a quick chat, gone off a tangent, but what are you two actually doing at Silverstone for this test day? Is this an official Porsche day?
Yeah, they're really good, actually.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
They're probably some of the best quality track time that I've had in the car. So effectively, Porsche rent the circuit for the day. We're at Silverstone National tomorrow. So we had 3 this year.
Yes, 3 so far. I think
here, Donington.
Oh yes, I also had one at Knock Hill as well.
Yeah, okay. Where else do we have? Was it
Donington? Media Day, then we had Donington Park.
Yeah.
And then...
So they've actually all been here or Donington?
Yeah. I had then you had
the Knock Hill. An ideal would have really been probably a Brands GP.
Yes.
Yeah. But I just think that would be quite difficult. You had a Brands one as well, didn't you? Official Porsche Brands one.
As well, yeah, I did.
You've had it for quite a lot of the year.
Yes, actually, saying that, how they used to be, from last year, and also we had the one at Brands Hatch, is for us sometimes it's just open pit lane.
Right,
all day, no red flags.
Because when we're not there, effectively, there's nobody else. But so what Porsche do is they rent the circuit and then split it between either everybody who's there. So tomorrow we've got 50-minute sessions back to back. It's quite a busy day. So by the time you're out of the car, you've had 5 minutes to sort of catch your breath and cool yourself down. You then trying to work out what you want to do in the next session for 40 minutes before you got 5 minutes to get your kit back on and get ready for the start of the next session. So, they're quite busy days. So tomorrow is 50 minutes back to back, sprint challenge, and then Carrera Cup. Obviously there's been a few open pit lane ones as well. So
the test days with Porsche are fantastic quality because everybody's there. TSL live timing is there. You can see roughly where you are. Obviously, there's no scrutineering, so you can't guarantee that people aren't running their cars way too low with no fuel in them and new tyres. But generally, you get a bit of a sense actually of where you are compared to everybody else.
There's not a lot of point in anybody really doing that. It's a bit of a waste of their test day.
Yeah. Apart from social media.
Yeah. Well,
good.
To be
good
honest,
for the gram,
if I'm at the top of the test
sounds
day
like
tomorrow,
you guys get looked after.
Yeah, it's good, and all included within your entry fee.
It is indeed all included in the entry fee.
So, whilst what we pay for is a lot of money, I do feel like with Porsche we get a very, very good quality service with our championship. And the case has been the same with a few other championships I've done. Well, I've got to say Porsche on that level is fantastic. So that's what tomorrow is.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of championships, unfortunately, Porsche is the only one I've ever done as a championship.
That is a really unfortunate circumstance.
I can't compare it to anything. I still feel like the service is fantastic.
Yeah, I've obviously done quite a few different things. Porsche's been great. My second time actually being involved with Porsche, I did a Carrera Cup round back in 2015. So
very good. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
very good.
I've done a bit.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. What I think we should have, this is the first
around the block
guest on the podcast. Yeah, you could say so within the motorsport sense. Yes. So to be fair, this year adds. Without being in slicks and wings single seaters, I've done pretty much most stuff that you can do. Front wheel drive, rear engine, rear wheel drive now, and rear engine front and rear wheel drive front engined cars. So I've kind of got that good mixture of everything within what I've raced, and like won in just about everything I've done. So it's a nice place to be. But anyway, this isn't my episode. This is about you, Charles. So when did you start? Obviously, your dad's got the team.
Yeah.
Is that where the racing started from?
Yeah, pretty much. So from my side, my dad was racing ever since I was born, pretty much. So he actually won the Halfords MG Midget Challenge in 1998 when I was born. Yeah, I know. Fantastic championship, that. There'd be 30 standard midgets all barreling into the first corner, all the same, against basically the version of MX5 Cup, like the Super Cup now, just ultra competitive, all the cars the same, and it was fantastic. So we were running that basically until 2006 when we stopped. So I've always been around cars and racing and that kind of thing. My dad actually bought me a go-kart for my 8th birthday. So I did a little bit of testing, but my mum was always massively against me racing.
So when did your dad stop?
So my dad actually stopped racing in 2017.
Okay, so not really that long ago at all.
Not really that long ago at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So racing's just been a part of my family since I was born, basically.
And you got a kart when you were 8, and then do you start sort of racing karts then, or
no, not at all. So my mum was against me racing go-karts because she said it's too dangerous. That's thing.
Yeah.
Which is ironic now, the fact I'm a driver coach and I race something with 510 horsepower, but that's fine. So instead, I did a bit of testing and thoroughly enjoyed the testing, massively caught the bug. That kind of stopped for a while, from when I was about 10 until I was 16. And by that point, I was helping my dad build cars, working on race weekends and all that kind of thing, because I was actually homeschooled as well, which is a whole nother topic.
Right.
And
why?
Right. Okay. So
I've asked the question.
No, that's fine. So I've got a twin brother. His name is James.
Yeah.
So obviously got my little brother Ali.
Yeah.
Who is my second mechanic on the Cup car. And was also massively involved in CCK Historic. And he also drives the Arctic lorry as well. So he's recently got his license to drive the Arctic.
Have you got your C1?
I have not got my C1. No.
Is that the next driving license in the Charles Rainford list?
Eventually, I think. I don't know. I think I'll try and drive them too quickly to get frustrated.
You can only do 56.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have a twin brother, and at the time, because the plan was that we were going to go to school, and we were living in Kent in Speldhurst at the time, so right next to Tunbridge Wells. Nice area actually as well, because we had the workshop at that point was in Tunbridge.
Yeah.
My dad had a shop in Black Fen, selling MG car parts and that kind of thing. So it was just my mum and us 3 boys. My little brother at the time wasn't obviously old enough to go to school. So we were going to go to local school, and it was all sorted until it was the first week before the first day of term. The school rang up and said, "We've only got space for one of them." And my dad went, well, what's the issue? And my dad, trying to be the problem solver that he is, said, well, what's the problem? And they said, we've not got a desk. And he said, I was going to buy a desk then. And apparently it wasn't that simple.
Right.
So they said that there's a space at the school, the next school, which
I can imagine that conversation with your dad.
It's so straightforward. It's fantastic. So from that, then said the school 10 miles down the road has another space, and my dad said, well, that's not going to work, is it? Because there's two of them. He has to go to Blackfen every day selling MG car parts. We have the workshop over at Tunbridge. We've got to be in two places at once. So they suggested, why don't you start homeschooling until we find a place for you? So we started homeschooling, and the whole education system forgot about us. We never got checked up. So A levels, nothing.
Wow.
I know. So
okay. So
before I got involved in motorsport,
do they like? Do they? It's obviously like effectively people pay taxes and then you go to a place at school. Yeah. So did they like pay for your mum to do the homeschooling?
No.
So you just had to fund it all yourself?
Just fund it ourselves.
Wow.
So my mum literally schooled me, which is cool. But then it did mean the fact that basically the government didn't really know about me because I didn't do the school system and didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So for me to be self-employed, to be a driver coach, to get a UTR number was a right old kerfuffle because according to them, I didn't exist. So I had to send off my birth certificate, my passport, the whole thing, just to get a UTR number.
Because you've never been to school.
Never been to school, never did the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you don't really realise, there's probably so much more a school does than just teaches you stuff.
Yeah.
So,
100%. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So you didn't do A levels, you did MG levels.
MG levels, exactly. So that's why I was so involved with the company. And
so when did you? I guess there must be a point where that situation where you go, right, you've done your maths lesson, go and help your dad.
Yeah, literally. So I'd basically have school with my mum from 9 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then from basically 2:30, I'd be in the workshop with my dad. Amazing childhood. Absolutely. Looking back now, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
And so, how did that work with being with other people? Because obviously, if you're always knowing firsthand. To be a professional racing driver, first and foremost, you've got to be able to drive a car really fast around a track.
Yeah.
But probably second and very close to that is you've got to be able to talk to people and make the business side of this sport happen.
Yes.
Because without that, you're not putting a racing car to go and drive very quickly anyway.
Exactly.
And I can imagine there's probably been opportunities for you to do that through the business.
100%.
But that's not got you in a Carrera Cup seat.
No.
So how did you find that? That must be quite a challenge.
Yeah, it was really. So obviously, when you go through the school system, you learn about certain things. Some things you don't tend to then use later on in life. From my whole upbringing, I've been learning about business and accounting and all the things that you normally do. But also what was very interesting looking back now is I never actually used to get on with people my own age at the time. So when I was kind of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, even to about 18, 19 years old, I never got on with people my own age because I just found them annoying.
Yeah.
It's just we're going out partying because I've always been brought up around people that were older because I was always with my dad's friends.
Yeah.
So I've always spoken to people that were of the age I am now, such as yourself, Max, as well. I've always spoken to older adults.
Yeah.
So I never got on with people my own age. I always felt a little bit of an outsider. And now looking back on that, it's just because I kind of
you were never thrown into the ring of doing that.
I was never really in the same kind of time frame as the people I was trying to socialise.
Yeah.
So I'd always be socialising with my mum and dad's friends, which I think has really helped me because it means then that I've learned about business, I understand about business, and I've spoken to adults ever since I was young.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been on that kind of level.
It makes a lot of sense, that, to be fair, because growing up as a kid, I always quite enjoyed hanging around with mum and dad if they had friends come over and that sort of thing. Yeah. But I think, especially in the younger years of my racing, I wasn't fazed by speaking to people who were a lot older.
Yes.
And when you meet a lot of kids who are in junior race series, that kind of freaks them out, and they don't really know how to handle it.
Totally.
I've never really thought about it in that dynamic. That actually is probably just by, instead of going and playing on an Xbox, that I'd sit and watch mum and dad's friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, it's quite interesting. You know what people's upbringing has been like as to how they've got to the position that they are within a motorsport setting.
Totally.
So yeah.
So when I was first looking for sponsors for Carrera Cup for the first year, obviously being a 22-year-old and never having to find sponsorship before, normally I think that would be quite intimidating for youngsters. But actually, getting into the boardroom for the first time, talking about business, I felt I was at home.
Yeah, normal.
It just felt like I should do, really, having a conversation on how you can move somebody's company forward and get it more well known, or help them in any way you can. In return to help you go racing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Basically.
So on the racing front, where did it then start? It's about 16.
Yes, 16. So I started off racing an MG Midget, which myself and my dad kind of built. Really, it was.
Did he still have the midget shop at that point then?
No, so that's all stopped basically, and we then got very much more involved with just historic racing cars on crossfire tyres. Because that became more of a thing really in towards 2006, 7, 8 and onwards. The real historic scene started with obviously Goodwood getting more and more momentum and that kind of thing. Really, it's the Goodwood revival that has brought the historic scene to as it is now. Before it was never really
such an event. Well, I say it's such an event. I've never been.
Haven't you?
No.
We should change that.
For me, it is so like it is so far away from me. It's like 7 hours. So it's not really on the doorstep. So yeah, I've watched it plenty on the telly and thought that looks mint. I want to go. But I also would love to race it.
100%.
The racing just looks.
In a couple of years' time, Max Coates in a seat for revival.
Anytime I am around anybody who has anything to do with historic racing, that is dropped straight into the conversation, like
straight away.
FYI, I want to race in a revival. Have you got any way that can happen?
Very good.
So,
yes.
P.S. I've got no money. that bit also makes
you're more than quick enough to not need to pay for it, mate.
So it looks pretty class. So your racing started with historic stuff.
Yes.
So that's quite rare, I think.
100%.
To find somebody who's kind of got to Carrera Cup level. Is there anybody else you can think of who started from a historic scene and gone to?
I don't know
this level of single make.
Especially when I started in historics, because it's such a closed world, and it was even more of a closed world to me because it was what I grew up in. And everybody who I was then racing against basically had seen me grow up and then get in a racing car. So that was really quite cool. So it meant it was a really closed shop. So I'd be watching racing on the TV and stuff. And before I was racing, I was even watching some of your races, to be fair, and watching you on the touring car package and all that kind of stuff. So, but I'd never really register who people were, if you know what I mean. Like I watch it and go, oh yeah, I know the name of all sorts of different people. Because I'd always watch touring cars on a Sunday. If me and my dad weren't at a race event already with historics. So growing up through it, it was really only when I got into actually instructing and driver coaching was when I kind of started to know other people knew actually that I wanted to race in something more than just doing a few. I think at the time I was doing like 3 races a year with my dad.
For the first few years.
It wasn't easy.
I just want to step in there. So Charles, obviously coming from the historic side and then going into the more modern stuff, everyone's got a favourite. So I'm sure Paul's got a couple of questions for you when it comes to this sort of stuff as well, because it's quite a unique career you've had. First of all, if you were to pick one historic car to race for the rest of your career, what would it be?
Only out of the stuff I've driven, because it's the only thing I can comment on. I would have to... Oh, that is so hard, you know. Okay. So I've been very lucky that I've raced some cool cars. Right up there is actually one of the newest projects, which is a 1982 Ford Capri. That is a 3-litre Capri. It is absolutely fantastic to drive. Otherwise, I would have to probably say a Marcus 1800 GT. which is with the plywood chassis, fiberglass frame on top, because it's fantastic. 1960s GT car that is made of plywood that you can still beat an AC Cobra and E-Type with. Just incredible. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I've never raced them, but whenever I watch Revival, it makes me think of my Ginetta Junior days.
Yes.
The racing that I see is just like, that just looks like crazy Ginetta Junior racing.
100%.
And I can't believe they're doing it in valuable cars.
Yeah.
But that's what seems to happen.
Yeah.
And would you say like the Cortina type of race?
Yes.
That looks to me probably like
100%.
The biggest sort of door handle.
Yeah.
Sort of a really good mix of power and grip.
Totally. Yeah. So I'm unlucky in the way I've not actually yet driven in a 1960 touring car race. I've done 80s now with Group 1, with the Capri, and then a lot of 50s. So in the Revival in 2019, I raced a Volvo PV544.
Okay.
And that was kind of, so it's the engine is a 1998 on split Webers, a Volvo, full Volvo engine.
Yeah.
Actually the same engine that goes in the Marcus.
Okay.
So we are able to get almost 200 brake horsepower out of it, which is pretty bonkers.
Yeah.
However, I was very lucky in that car that it was never the quickest down the straights, nor was it in the worst in the corners or the braking zones. It was fairly neutral. If you take, for instance, an Austin A40, it was a little bit worse in the corners, but also a bit better down the straights. So it was a very, very good balance, especially for Goodwood. But there was a Mark II Jag in that race I was battling with, also a Studebaker and an A40 as well.
Yeah.
And during the race, obviously the Studebaker would come flying past me down the straights, and then he'd brake, and I'm still accelerating. So I then shoot back up the inside of him again into the next corner.
They're the best races that you watch. It's just like 100%. Rapid in a straight line, but cannot go around a corner.
No, exactly. And then you've got to be really on top of your head as well, because, for instance, you'll be catching an A40 down the straight, and you'll go to the inside, but then you go, actually, why am I trying to do this? Because he's about to outbrake me. It feels like one of those pointless moves where you go to the inside, but you're never going to try and make it work. You just compromise your line. So you have to really, really think in those types of races as well.
As to what everybody else's car is to.
Yeah, totally. I raced a Mini actually at the members meeting that was 2019 as well, actually. But that was actually in the all Mini race, so I never got a chance to be against the Cortinas or Mustangs and that kind of thing. That was a pretty cool experience as well, actually. Made it to the final. It wasn't, a highly tuned Swift Tune engine and all that. It didn't quite have the best shock absorbers on, but we got it to the final. That was what it was all about.
We got there.
Yeah.
Mega.
Yeah. So,
leading on from that, what is the one car that you want to race but haven't yet?
Oh, that is,
on a historic front.
Yeah. That'd be a Lola T70.
Cool.
Just really, really want to have a go in the Can-Am stuff. I think it just looks incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Fantastic.
Is there some classic questions in there, Paul?
On what track?
What track?
Yeah. On what track? Yeah, what track would you pick out of all the tracks? Could be modern, classic. Could be anything.
Yeah, I've only ever driven. I suppose I drove a historic at Spa, and that was fantastic. As well, you would obviously drive them at Silverstone, at Brands Hatch, at Snetterton. They're great fun, but nothing beats Goodwood because it's a historical circuit in a historical car. It's just that perfect balance.
There's nowhere else like it.
There's nowhere else like it. Exactly. Even if you go to Castle Combe, it's still not the same as driving it at Goodwood.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
We've lost Rob.
We have lost Rob.
Yeah, in fact, Rob and I were at Goodwood a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was for the Evo track day, but we won't go into that as much, will we, Paul? Because it sounded like the lads are taking care at their track day with Porsche, but Evo. God knows. Myself and Paul dived down to Goodwood recently for the Evo track day, and Paul, we weren't very well looked after, were we? Considering it was special.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say, really. I mean, Evo magazine, I've been a reader of that for a long time, and I thought, any opportunity to drive around Goodwood's great. We had Caterham, and we took the BAC Mono, so that was the first time I had a chance to drive that in the UK. And we drove them to the circuit because both cars got MOTs and number plates, and it absolutely chucked it down with rain all the way there. So they weren't the two best cars. While you were sort of following us in a Land Rover Defender 110, sort of, on sweep wagon duty behind us. But yeah, we got wet before we even got there. Arrived, did the briefing, and it was dry for the first bit. So actually, Rob and I amazingly managed to fit into a S3 bodied Caterham together. I think our combined weight doubled the curb weight of the car without us in it, to be fair. And there is a video of us getting in and getting out and putting the seatbelts on because we had a 2-minute challenge and we blasted it 1 minute 40 in and out, but we can't both get in at the same time.
Absolutely. Which we are actually, we're going to take that video. Yeah. We're going to put that into a shorts video because I can actually reveal the Driving Talk podcast is now on YouTube. So if you're listening to us on Spotify or any of the other podcast providers that we're already on, get yourself on YouTube. You can see the video version of this as well, which you can already see on Spotify. But the point I was making there, obviously, you guys mentioned how looked after you were with the Porsche side of things. It was meant to be an Evo track day, paid extra for it, I believe, Paul, right? I guess?
A little bit.
And did it really feel like it was anything special, anything different? Apart from the circuit. The circuit is just... Charles, you're absolutely right. The circuit is special.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like a normal track day. I'd have expected the people from Evo to be coming up and interacting with people in the paddock and during lunch break, coming saying hello, welcoming you, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't, they were having lunch on their own, weren't really interfacing with people. And then we got a couple of sessions in the dry, so I took you out, took Ed out as well in the Caterham, and I thought, okay, let's get in the mono and see what that's like around here because it's a fantastic car, a fantastic circuit even. And on my first lap around, the dreaded rain started smashing into my visor. Not having a lot of seat time in a 260 horsepower, 550 kilogram pocket rocket. It certainly got my attention, that's for sure. So actually it was better than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't quite as sketchy as I thought it might have been just on Kumo semi-slicks. But as the rain came down and my confidence went up, I had a brief moment of just seeing how Lord's March's grass was on the inside of the exit of turn one.
Okay.
So
you never, if you go outside at all, there's not a lot you can do before you're in the barriers. But saying that, it's quite easy to end up actually on the airfield as well at Goodwood.
I can't remember what's inside. There's an airfield.
It is an airfield.
So can you, Castle Coombe, how it's like, there's like grass, but then inside the grass, there's an Armco.
Oh, no, it's not like that.
It's not like that.
No.
Because you don't find out about that until you've sort of gone through it, stayed full pelt through the grass, and then you're like, oh, there's a wall there.
I didn't know there's a wall there at the inside of Castle Coombe.
Yeah.
Blimey.
I'm sure I've seen like a video of a TCR car or something. It like goes into the grass and then bounces back out. And you're like, grass doesn't have them qualities. What's inside that?
This is bending laws of physics. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. There was an AMG GT and an Alpine being pedalled very well up in front of me, so I was sort of hunting them down. And then just on the inside, exiting, just a tiny bit of throttle on the on the last bit of the exit to go down into the straight before the right-hander, and just hit a bump. The back came out, and I thought, oh, this could be interesting. Luckily, it was very graceful. Probably covered a bit of distance, but it was on the inside.
Inside of one.
Okay, on the inside. Yeah. So we're exit of one, so almost on the straight, pretty much by the time I got there. And it's not slow there either. If you're having a little bit.
Have you had any big moments? I've phrased that as moments.
Gosh.
You can choose that.
Here we go.
Answer it.
No, to be fair, I mean, I've been on the grass. Oh, gosh. Yeah, okay. I've had a few big moments.
I saw the eyes go, oh, yeah, I remember that one.
There we go.
I was always, so far, we'll say touch wood on that, because there you go, you got some wood there. Is it real?
Might have some American Army.
Yeah.
Probably all plastic.
I've never had yet any big moments while driving, but lots
from the passenger
seat. So I was once going very, very quickly in the passenger seat of an M4 and ended up actually touching the grass on the outside of Ford Water, which in M4 is almost out at about 140 miles an hour.
Turn 2.
Yes.
I don't know the name.
Right, turn 2, you got the little kink right. So at 140, the passenger seat.
That's a corner.
It's a corner. Yeah, you've got to turn at just the right time. Anyway, there must have been a gust of wind or something on the apex because he just got a little slide. And he was driving fantastically well. But we were doing a special day. Unfortunately, not to say too much about the day, but it's a very special day where you have to hit a certain lap time. And the lap time is fast. And you are pushing on. And he just got a little wiggle at the top. And I thought, this isn't good. So I have to let him deal with it to a certain extent until it all really starts to go wrong.
Yeah.
And he did a good job, but he overcorrected slightly. And we just nibbled the grass with the rear, with just the left tyres, with the two left tyres, but more so the rear. And all of a sudden, it just snapped us. And I just grabbed the wheel and I just went hard right. I was like, we are not going left.
Not in the wall.
And apart from that, I ended up at the wall, actually, last year doing the same event at turn 1 for the passenger seat.
Okay.
So it's a good event every year.
You hit the buzzers then.
You hit the buzzers then. Which almost kept it out, but not quite.
Is that your scariest moment in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so, actually.
I think mine is
here. Here?
Yeah.
Wow, what was that in?
Ginetta G40.
Okay.
We were probably 40 seconds to a minute off the pace. But what you tend to find on a track day is actually going slow is far scarier than going fast. We spun at turn 1 on a quite a fast track day. There's like a few radicals, a couple of like nice, tasty, maybe GT3 type things. And we spun on turn 1 at Cops. And we were sat. Lady driving it was probably just hanging inside the curb. And I was pretty much sat on the curb in a Ginetta G40, and either the starter motor or battery or alternator had failed, so it wouldn't start.
Yeah, okay.
And being sat.
Oh, no.
But the crash was actually quite sedate. It wasn't a crash, it was a spin, but it was the fact that it then wouldn't start from there. And I'm like,
you've got these GT3 cars.
She's just like, oh no, we've spun. And I'm like, get out. I'm like, around. She's like, no idea what's going on. And then I had another one at Anglesey going into the hairpin.
Yes.
Just a couple of weeks ago. And the guy hit the brake. I said brake harder, and I think he then hit the throttle.
No.
I thought we'd had brake failure, but I think he just hit the throttle instead. So I was like, oh no. I think it was probably in the week or so building up to Croft. And I thought, oh no, this bad. This really bad.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
What's my dad going to say when I call him up from hospital in Anglesey going, Dad, I got 2 broken legs and I can't do Croft?
Yes, fair enough.
Yeah.
Although, saying that, I've just thought of another really quite scary one I had. Was it Paul Ricard in a Ferrari challenge car?
Oh, that sounds slow.
Yeah, it was a slow, sedate day.
Yeah.
Anyway, we come out of the first sector, and he is on a fantastic lap, like really good. And I'm like, wow, okay, we're going fast right now. The thing is, for the Ferrari,
are you doing the whole of the back straight? Or
whole of the back straight? No, we're doing the whole of the back straight. So we come up. It wasn't there. It was at the kink before the back straight. But now that you say that, when you're in 7th gear in a Ferrari challenge car doing
in the passenger seat,
doing 160, 170 miles an hour, I can tell you, it's not fun.
That's a bit scary. That is danger money.
It's danger money. So we come out of the kind of double right-hander, long right-hander, and we go through the little kink left.
Yeah.
And that's still fast in a challenge car. It's flat out. And it's fast.
You've got to take quite a bit of curb to be flat.
You do. And we just got on the exit just a little bit too much. And all of a sudden, we're spat 90 degrees towards the barrier. And I'm like, this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
And I literally just reach across and just turn the wheel hard left and send us into a spin.
Yeah.
And so we come to a stop, and I just say to the guy I'm coaching, I go, do you know how much that would have hurt or cost?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, thank you for that.
When you save it and you go, it's really worth it today.
Yeah, exactly. Our day rates pretty cheap right now.
You feel like going, I'll give you an option. You can pay my day rate or I'll take 10% of what I would have saved you.
Yeah.
And you go, I can guarantee you 10% of what I would have saved you will be a lot more than the day rate. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But I think...
Yeah, but I'm getting to go back to Goodwood in a couple of weeks on the Friday of the revival. So if you're down there, Charles, I'll make sure I'll...
and we'll take 10% of what we would have saved you.
Exactly. Yeah, I think when you say scary instructing things or scary driver coaching things from the passenger seat, I think we could go on all night about things that happen that you just like, if I actually thought about this, I wouldn't do it ever again. But then I realised, I didn't go to school, so
I guess...
else.
It's a lot more.
Yeah, but I guess that's... Is that kind of... Being a professional racing driver, is that kind of the risk you have to take away from doing the actual racing bit yourself, is doing stuff like the driver coaching and everything like that to earn a living? You kind of take that risk on board as part of that.
It's not necessarily... I think it's the best way.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a very successful business on the side, you're spending your time interacting with people who like cars, and so you're in the right kind of place. The travel is pretty difficult.
Yes,
you
certainly.
Probably find that from being down south, or 100%. You've got quite a few tracks within probably 2 hours.
To be fair, I mean, it'd be a lot harder for you than me, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'm very lucky that I can get to up to actually here really on a day and back. So I've got Brands Hatch, Goodwood, Thruxton, Castle Combe is a push, but I can do it. I've got here, and to be fair, Donington is the only one to say, I'm going to need a hotel for this.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky, but for where you are...
I've got Croft.
Yeah, you've got Croft and that's it.
Yeah, basically.
Bolton even is probably quite a trek, isn't it? It's all the way across.
Yeah, and depending on how the M62 is, it can be 2 hours, it can be 4. So, Donington's doable with in a day and back, but it's a pretty big day.
Yeah, it's big.
You've got to have left by 6, maybe even earlier.
Yeah,
depending. Yeah, if you've got a fairly relaxed customer and you can be there for 8, you can leave at 5:45.
Yeah,
and you might be back by 8 o'clock. Yeah, so it's but it's doable.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be doing 4 in a week.
No.
So
no. But inherently with the job, there's a lot of travelling. I don't know how much you do in Europe currently, but that
not
always
a lot.
Becomes hard.
It's probably quicker for you to get to circuits in Europe than it is for me to get to other circuits that are still in the country.
Yeah.
So, where could you get to in Europe in 3 hours from you?
Well, probably 4 hours is Spa.
Okay. Well, 4 hours for me on a bad trip is Alton Park, and that's my second closest track. Yeah. So that's third closest track.
Yeah.
It can easily be 4 hours here. It's definitely 4 hours to Brands.
Yes.
It does make it quite tough on the travel from where I'm at. But otherwise, being in this game is good. But to be fair, we're not really home that often, so actually between tracks, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But definitely say it is the thing to do. And there's quite a lot of us who are in the same boat. So it's a weird one where it's like we don't necessarily work with anybody, and we're all in effect self-employed. Yeah. Although in lots of different situations, but you almost feel like you have a little team of colleagues. Yeah. So I see Charles about quite a bit, especially if I'm at probably a Silverstone or a Brands or something like that. Then I tend to see Charles quite a bit. But you see people like Bobby Thompson, Mike Epps,
totally,
Sean Doyle,
totally, Chris Diamond,
Tom MacArthur, as we've last week, see him all the time. Loads of different people, like Stoff Jones. There's just people who float around it, and there's a few that that go off and do a lot of stuff in Europe. But it's quite a good. It's a good fun way of doing life and your thing. But it does come with a bit of risk.
It does come with a bit of risk, but in a way as well, it can also really help you train for racing as well, because when you're in a race car or even a road car all day going around a circuit, we were talking about this before we started the podcast actually, how car fit it makes you.
Yeah.
100%. So you've got two things. You can be the fittest guy in the world. You can have the big muscles, the gym body. You still doesn't mean like you. It doesn't mean you won't be able to drive a car for half an hour. You can feel absolutely knackered because there's
Not like me.
so there's so much, that yes, it's physical strength, but also it's mental strength that goes into the whole thing. And spending days coaching, you're actually probably concentrating more when you're trying to coach somebody because you're thinking about everything.
You basically got to keep two people alive for a day.
Yes.
That's effectively what you've got to do.
Yeah.
So you've got to think everything that you would think, and then think, what else could I do?
Yes.
And then you've covered all bases, and then because every now and then people will just surprise you. And that said, there is some fantastic days coaching. It's so rewarding. Like when you're with race team, and I'm sure you've had it with Callum this year, but like there's some difficult days when you're sort of doing I guess more of the mainstream work where people not necessarily been on track very much, but when you're doing like race coaching, it's such a rewarding thing to see other people have success. So
you might even get on piston heads in a Mark V GTI, Charles, which I just happened to stumble on the other day on the internet.
That was a fantastically fun project, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
What's that?
So I did a YouTube series with piston heads, which is fully out now. And actually, you can still enter the competition to win the Golf GTI. It's a cool car as well, although it could do with the differential. So we did a series with them on trying to get a Mark V GTI on a 10 grand budget to beat a Mark 8 Golf R 20th anniversary edition.
Okay.
Which is really cool. No spoilers. So you have to go and watch the series, but
damn it,
really good fun.
Sounds good. Sounds a laugh.
Yeah, it was
fantastic. So from historics, Carrera Cup, how does it all ultimately come about?
Well, actually, Pistonheads, to be fair, I've got to give Pistonheads the credit. So Peter Dingen at Pistonheads, actually my dad used to run him in the Halfers Midget Challenge, and he also won the championship in one of our cars, which was really, really cool. And after I raced at the Revival in 2019, did fairly well. Had John Cleland as my second driver, which was fantastic. He is a great character, amazing guy, really, really cool. We managed to it was second on aggregate, I believe. I was third, and I was third in my race, and he was, I think he was fourth or fifth in his race, which was really, really cool. Fantastic result. And on the back of that, Pistonheads offered me to race a Ford KA with them for 2 rounds in 2020.
I can see exactly where this goes to Porsche Carrera Cup.
It's really, yeah. So basically, did the first round, enjoyed it. It was just a bit of a low experience about endurance racing because I've never done maximum of half an hour. So doing 2.5 hours in a car, all of a sudden I went, I like this. I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
When you do a longer stint, it's just amazing because you get in such a rhythm. The car feels the same every lap. There's nothing going on. You get some back markers, deal with the traffic. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really fun racing. So we then came to the Indy 500. Have you done that event?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we did it with fun. Were you guys there? We did it with Graves. We did like a charity team.
Yeah,
no, it's really good fun.
Yeah,
really good.
Really, really fun. So basically, in a short version of the story is it was wet in qualifying. I was meant to go at the end when it was meant to dry up slightly to see how far we could get the car up the grid. But my teammate unfortunately put it in the gravel in his qualifying stint, and another car rolled over the top of us. So
okay,
yeah,
I can remember that.
Yes, of course, you were there, Rob.
Yes, commentated on it.
At that point, I was semi-team manager for the Club Race UK team because they did it from the first year and the second year, and they won the 12 hours at SNET post-COVID.
Because I did you guys race license test, didn't I? I think I was your examiner.
You didn't do mine.
No, I didn't do yours.
Steph's
yes, that's it. Yes. Gosh, that was a little while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so I then stayed with the Pistonheads boys, and we got the car fixed because it didn't touch the roll cage. So we got a new couple new bits for it. Some teams are very kind, and actually their Graves as well were very kind. Lent us a door, all sorts.
Yeah.
I think
Stuff.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
So managed to get the car out for qualifying and for the start of the race. And it was wet, and I started dead last. And within 1 hour, without any pit stops, I managed to go from 42nd to first overall. And after that, I actually got more recognition and more opportunity from doing that and being good in that first stint than I had from being on the podium at Goodwood or winning at Spa and all these kind of things in historics. So at that point, Dad anyway wanted to get into some more modern racing again, obviously like when the midgets were with the Halfords Midget Challenge, and get back into single make racing as well as the historic stuff. So we then decided, well, that's it then. We'll go modern racing.
And that's it for part 1 of the Driving Talk podcast in this edition with Charles Rainford. In part 2, we're going to hear about his climb up the ranks in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB Championship, and maybe see if we could prize out of him any plans going forwards. It's certainly going to be a good listen for that one, folks. But for now, you're going to have to wait another week, I'm afraid, for Charles Rainford Part 2. Don't forget to head back to our other episodes of the Driving Talk podcast, powered by Icon. But for now, bye-bye.